Today we will be discussing SDRs, or surveillance detection routes. A surveillance detection route basically is a planned or an unplanned path or a route that a person takes with specific intent to see if they are being followed. When you're conducting surveillance and you're following somebody, you have to remember that the subject might suspect someone is watching them. In fact, in today's ever-growing world of technology and awareness of all of the surveillance that is happening all around us, many people who are involved in any legal battles just assume someone is watching them. They might be involved in a high-stakes lawsuit or a potentially fraudulent insurance claim. They might be cheating on their spouse and feeling incredibly guilty about it. They might just be paranoid by nature because of the lifestyle they live. Whatever their specific reason is, they will eventually try to test their environment. An SDR goes way beyond just looking in their rearview mirror to see if someone is following them. Instead, they change their behavior and their driving route to force you to react to their actions, thus exposing you and your vehicle. That is the entire psychological point of a surveillance detection route. If they can force you to react, they can identify you. And if you don't recognize these SDRs, these surveillance detection routes, as they are happening, you will walk right into their trap.
This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today.
Before we get into the 7 specific SDR routes, I have a question for you to think about. How do you confirm a tail in a busy, crowded shopping mall without ever looking over your shoulder? Keep that specific scenario in your mind because we will answer that in a bit later in this video. Let us look at the first and most famous type of SDR, which is the famous box maneuver. This is where the target makes 4 consecutive right turns or 4 consecutive left turns. This simple action, basically going around the block or a few blocks, creates a literal box shape on the map, thus called the box maneuver. Normally, nobody drives in a complete circle just to get to their destination, so if you follow someone through 4 consecutive right turns, you are clearly following them. But the basic box is often too obvious, and most investigators will catch on long before the second or the third turn. And a lot of people know this, so some will conduct what is referred to as a double box maneuver, which is shaped like a figure 8. They make 2 right turns, followed immediately by 4 left turns, and then 2 right turns, taking them right back to where they started. Another common variation is what we call the expanding box maneuver. This is where they drive 1 block and then they make a right-hand turn. Then they drive 2 blocks and make a right-hand turn. Then they might drive 3 blocks and make a right-hand turn, and so on and so forth until they know if they are being followed or not. With this maneuver, they keep expanding the physical distance between each of their turns, which can make the route feel more natural to the investigator if they're not trained properly. But the target is still actively watching to see if the same specific car stays with them. The next type of route we need to discuss is the progressive exposure test. This is much more subtle than the box, and it catches a lot of rookies off guard. The target uses their vehicle speed and lane positioning to test the cars behind them. They will get on a busy highway and drive exactly the speed limit in the far right, the slow lane. They then watch closely to see exactly who slows down to match their pace. Then they will suddenly speed up aggressively and move all the way over to the fast lane. They watch their mirrors to see if the same car speeds up and follows them across all the traffic. They are progressively exposing themselves to different traffic flows to isolate the surveillance investigator. And if you mirror their every move, you will stand out to be sure. Another major part of this test involves approaching traffic lights. The target will approach a solid green light and slow down drastically for no apparent reason. They want to see if the car directly behind them also slows down on the green light. Normally, people would just go around them if they suddenly slowed down. A rookie surveillance investigator, though, might panic and slow down just to avoid passing their subject. If you slow down on a green light just because the target did, you just failed the test completely. But what if your subject suddenly and intentionally drives into a dead-end street just to trap you? This brings us to the third type of a surveillance detection route, which I refer to as the public space funnel. This specific route is designed to systematically expose anyone following them. The target starts out in a very busy public space like a major interstate or a highway. On a large highway, you have plenty of cover because there are hundreds of other cars around you. Then the target abruptly exits onto a main city road with traffic lights. Your cover is greatly reduced, but you still have other traffic moving around you. Next, the target turns into a very quiet residential neighborhood with tight streets, lots of cars parked everywhere. Now there are only one or two other cars, if you're lucky, on the road with you and your subject. Finally, the target deliberately turns down a dead-end street or a secluded cul-de-sac or an alley. They have successfully funneled you from a highly populated area into a completely empty space. If you follow them into that dead end, you have absolutely nowhere to hide. When you see a target funneling down into quieter residential neighborhoods, you need to start giving them a little more space. Make sure you're keeping an eye on what is coming ahead so you can make sure you don't follow them into any dead end areas. If need be, go past where they turn so you can see down the road. Then go around the block or turn around and continue the follow if it's safe. The fourth type of detection route is the parking lot confirmation route. I have seen this used a lot, and the worst part is the subject has complete control of the environment. They will pull into a large retail parking lot like a big box store, a grocery store, or a mall, but instead of parking near the front doors, they'll drive all the way to the very back of the parking lot. Then they quickly park facing the main entrance so they can see every single car in the parking lot. Another frustrating tactic they may use is the pull-through method. They will pull into a parking spot and drive straight through the painted lines to the next aisle. Then they will just sit there with their engine running, waiting and watching. Or sometimes they will drive around the entire outer perimeter of the parking lot without ever stopping to park anywhere. In any of these scenarios, what they are doing is looking for anyone who is mirroring their erratic driving behavior. When a target enters a large parking lot, you should park where you can observe what they're doing and see if they park and enter the store. If they make any of these weird maneuvers, you can bet they are suspicious, but since you didn't follow them into the trap, you most likely aren't burned yet. Here's something else you need to think about. How easily could you spot a tail if you have a friend in another vehicle helping you out? The simple answer is very easy, right? This leads directly to our fifth type of route, which is a two-vehicle coordination route. Some targets already know they are being investigated before you even show up. They might call a friend or a family member or somebody to help them actively watch for a tail. The target will leave their house and then their friend will pull out of a side street right behind them. The friend essentially acts as a moving shield between the target and any potential investigators. The friend might start to drive very slow, trying to force you to pass them on the road. Sometimes the subject and the friend will intentionally split up at major intersections. The target turns left and his friend turns right simultaneously. If you follow the primary target, the friend can easily circle back around and then follow you. Now, the private investigator has suddenly become the one being actively surveilled. Let's move on to the sixth type of SDR, which covers foot-based techniques for crowded urban areas. While on foot, the subject may just subtly walk past a large reflective glass window and use the reflection to see who is walking behind them. Or they may suddenly stop to tie their shoe right there in the middle of a walkway. Normal people will just naturally walk around them without missing a single beat. But an investigator who is caught off guard might suddenly stop walking as they decide what to do. Paranoid targets will also deliberately enter a retail store that has multiple public exits. They will walk in the front door and immediately walk right out the back door into an alley or onto another street. Then they will stand there and watch that back door intently, waiting to see who comes running out. Another common trick involves getting on a public elevator, or you could use this on a subway train or on a bus. The target waits until the doors are almost entirely closed, then they step off at the very last possible second. If you follow them in, you are then essentially trapped inside while they are free to go on their way. What is the safest way a target can confirm they are being followed without ever blowing their own cover? This brings us to the seventh type of route, which is the time-based confirmation method. This is without a doubt the safest and most agonizingly slow method a target can possibly use. They do not make any sudden erratic turns or randomly stop at green traffic lights. They don't try to desperately trap you in empty parking lots or dead-end streets. Instead, they simply gather vast amounts of data over a long, extended period of time. They drive their normal, boring route to work every day, but they're paying close attention to the specific cars behind them every morning and every night on the way home. They mentally note the color, make, model, and parts of the license plate of the cars that they see frequently. They might even use dash cameras or home security systems to record vehicles passing by. They check to see if the same dark-colored sedan is behind them on Monday and then again on Thursday. Basically, they look for solid, undeniable patterns over several days or sometimes several weeks or months. They confirm the tail based on consistent timing and physical presence rather than a sudden panicked reaction. This specific method is incredibly hard for a private investigator to detect because nothing ever feels wrong. You simply think you're doing a great job because the subject never does anything weird or defensive. But in reality, they have already identified you and your car, and they are just playing along. Now, I would caution you to not let paranoia creep into the equation either. It is very easy, especially for new surveillance investigators, to start worrying about every single time their subject changes a lane, makes a sudden turn, or pulls into a parking lot. Based on my experience, most times there is a very logical reason for everything they do. You just don't know what that logical reason is until you see what they're doing.